joined here today by the one and only Jessica Rose Clark, set to fight soon at UFC Moscow in a long-anticipated rematch against Penny Kianzad. Thanks so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And before we get into the talk about the fight and everything, I feel like we haven't seen you out in the cage forever. I know you've had some fights fall
Yeah.
out. What's kind of been going on in that time?
Well, I had complications in Milwaukee, which was December last year. And then I got injured in the lead up to 237 in Rio. So it's actually been 18 months since I've fought. Not for lack of trying, but I mean, just like I only got medically cleared literally right before they gave me this fight with Penny. So it's been a long road.
And so, what's that feeling like knowing that you're trying to get back out there, trying to get these fights? I mean, what's kind of going through your mind when you're not able to get back out in the cage?
Honestly, I don't know. It's been pretty rough. Like obviously I've been trying to book fights and then things kept happening that caused me to not actually be able to go through with them. So to be honest, I'm just really happy that I'm getting an opportunity now. I feel good about it. I feel like the timeline's been perfect. All the time that I spent not being able to train because of my injury, I really got to focus on a lot of other things, kind of deciding what my goal with fighting is and the direction I want to take now that I'm physically capable again. I feel like I'm a lot more determined with what I'm doing.
And so I'm curious, what are you doing meanwhile in your time off? Because I assume, like you mentioned, you're not able to train, you're not able to go back to the gym. What are you kind of doing with your time off?
So I have like four other jobs, because I was in Vegas, so I was coaching every night at Tribe Fitness and Martial Arts, and then I was teaching every morning at Whip to Warrior at Extreme Couture. Plus, I help out with Triumph United, looking after the athletes, making sure the athletes are getting everything they need. And then I was building a website for them as well. So I was busy the entire time. I think I had 12 people, 12 students that were in camp for the duration of my time, of my injury. So a lot of my energy was just spent into getting them ready for their fights.
And so, what are you doing to physically stay fit? 'Cause I assume you can't be in the gym and go at 100%, but I assume you can still do some things to kind of remain in good shape.
Yeah, I was still at the gym every day. Like I wasn't weight bearing on my leg. So it was just a lot of single leg stuff, a lot of upper body cardio. But I did seated boxing. I did pads on a peg leg. So I was still active every day. I think the only days I was having off from actual training was Sundays, which I have off anyway.
All right, and let's talk about this fight a little bit. It is a rematch for you. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way the first time. What was your reaction when
Yeah.
the UFC and I assume your manager came to you and offered you this fight?
I asked for it, like when I saw that she got signed to the UFC, I knew that I was going to get my rematch because it was one that I've been wanting. My camp for her the first time was less than ideal, so that's a loss that I've kind of been wanting to get back. So I got really excited when I saw she'd been signed, even though it was at 145. I know she's not a natural 45er, she's a natural 35er, so I knew this one was going to happen. And yeah, literally the second they called me, well, I said yes to the card first. They were like, "Oh, do you want to fight in Moscow?" And I said, "Yep, no problem. Who is it?" And they're like, "Do you want to fight Pani?" I said, "Fuck yeah, done." Like there was no hesitation, no thought process. It was an immediate yes. They could have asked me to fill in on a week's notice for this one. I would have said yes to it.
And it's funny because the fight was a long time ago, and it seems like you've both evolved in your careers, especially yourself. I mean, do you feel like you're a completely different fighter now that you're rematching her?
Oh, absolutely. Not even just that, but the fact that I'm actually at an MMA gym now, whereas when I was prepping for her the first time, I was at a gi jiu-jitsu school, and that was it. So, yeah, I just, even the change in scenery for me and the change in coaching and the change in ability to do MMA as a whole, I really feel like that's going to make a big difference this time around.
Yeah, so what is the training camp like at this point? Is this just like any other camp, or have you had to make adjustments? And I know that you did move up in weight. Has that affected your training camp at all?
Yeah, I have way more energy and feel a lot healthier all the time. When I was fighting at 125, I was consistently dieting. I was always getting injured because I was malnourished. I was miserable. Every training session was just focused on burning enough calories to drop weight. But now I'm walking around pretty close to 35. Like I don't have to worry about really cutting anything. So I've been able to enjoy my life this camp, which I think is the biggest difference. Plus, I moved up to Northern California to CSA full time instead of just trying to commute there like I have been for the last year. So I actually am in the gym full time with a full program, plus being able to eat all the time and not have to worry about dieting. Just mentally, I'm in a much better place than I have been for the last few camps.
And what was the turning point for moving back up to 135? I mean, at what point did you realize I don't want to stay at 125? It makes more sense to move back up.
You know, every cut to 25 was excruciating. Like when I was cutting for the Paige Van Zandt fight, honestly, like that's the closest. And it's fucking. It sounds dramatic, but like I thought I was gonna die in that cut. Like we cut for 16 hours straight. Um, that's and you know, when it came down to fight night the next night, I was really sick. You know, and I was sick. I had to take 3 months off after that. So that was kind of the start of me realizing maybe I needed to move up. And then it was when I left Syndicate and started training at CSA, and Coach Kirian, from the very first day we trained together, he was like, no, you need to be back at 135. And so I always fought at 35 before I got signed to the UFC. My 3 UFC fights are the only fights I've ever had at 125. So then we were prepping for Milwaukee, and after everything happened, after I had medical complications for that weight cut, that was kind of the deciding factor for me, you know. So right after I got pulled from that fight, I spoke to Mick Maynard and I was like, hey, you know, what do you think about me going back to 135? And he was like, yep, 100% I'm on board with that. So that was it. Yeah, my coach was already telling me to, but ultimately he left it up to me to make the decision. And then when I passed out my weight cut for that fight, that was like, yeah, like I think he's right. Let's go to 135. And I'm glad because I'm a lot happier. My overall life is a lot better. I feel stronger. I feel more athletic, you know. I'm happy that I'm not gearing up to prepare for another, you know, 15, 17 pound cut. Now I can actually enjoy camp and learn and retain, and yeah, it's great. I'm really, really happy I made this decision.
And I assume it's got to be a big relief mentally too, because now you don't have to worry about, like you mentioned, dieting and all that stuff. Now you can kind of fully focus on just the fight itself rather than all that preparation with your weight beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, like there's nothing better than going through a really hard day of training and being able to go home and have a burger or pizza or pasta at the end of the day. So that definitely makes a huge difference.
And so the fight, it is taking place in Moscow. That's in Russia, and we know you fought kind of all over the world. Is this your first time going to Russia?
Yes. Yes. I'm super excited. You know, the day before they offered me this fight, they were talking about putting me on, 244 at Madison Square Garden the weekend before. And I was like, fuck yeah, that'd be super cool fighting in New York. And then they called me the next day and they're like, actually, what about Moscow? And I went, yep, no dramas. You know, Moscow's long been on my bucket list of places to visit. So the fact that now I get paid to visit and I get to go do something that I love and I get to go with the people I love, and yeah, it's just I couldn't think of a better opportunity to get out there for the first time.
And is this one of those trips where you're going to stay a few extra days or even go a few days before to take advantage of it, or is this one going to be kind of strictly business for you?
I never really like I like to sightsee in the couple of days before check-in, you know, so we get out there on the Monday, so I'll have about 2 days to go and explore, and then it's business, and then we fly right back to Australia the day after. Yeah, so I'm not spending any extra time there afterwards.
All right, and I do want to talk to you about your last fight, which we talk about locations. That one was in Singapore, where it was against
Yep.
Jessica Ai. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way. What do you think went wrong for you in that fight?
Ah, that's like a 2 hour long conversation, to be honest. On the night, mentally, I just wasn't in it. You know I have the skill set to win that fight, and I know 9 times out of 10 I win that fight, and that just happened to be that 1 time out of 10 that I mentally wasn't there at all. You know, this is the first fight. Like I'm coming up on, I think my next fight is my 20th overall. You know, so that was my 19th, and that was my first fight since my first couple. You know, that I actually don't remember any of it. Like that, I still don't remember any of that fight, and I don't think it was because I got hit hard, because I've been hit a lot harder than what I got hit by her. Um, just mentally, I wasn't there on the night. You know, like that's the short way to explain it. But
And I am curious about that mental side. At what point do you realize you're not there? Is it in the locker room? Maybe you feel different? Is it once you actually start fighting and the muscle memory is a little bit different? At what point do you realize that mentally things aren't, you're not as sharp as you should be out there?
when I got out the back after the fight, I'm assuming so. I don't remember any of that
Oh
fight, so
yeah.
I can't really answer that question. I didn't know anything was wrong until I got out the back and was like, what the fuck did I do? You know? I really had to rewatch it to watch it again and go like, oh, okay. Like I understand. I kind of reverted back to fighting how I used to fight 3 years ago before I moved out here.
And one thing I did want to talk to you about was at one point I haven't been keeping track like I should have, but you did get a puppy a while back. I believe it was a Australian cattle dog, if I'm not mistaken. What's kind of the update? I assume it's not a puppy anymore.
Well, I have two, and I've had them for 2 years now.
Oh
So
man,
it's
I'm
been
way
a while.
late.
Yeah. I have a girl and a boy. Well, my girl is 2, and my boy is a year and a half. But yeah, they're still puppies. Like my boy, he's still definitely a puppy. He still acts like a puppy, but they're getting pretty strong. Just this morning, I was trying to take him to the park. But now we're in California. The weather's a lot nicer than it is in Vegas. I get to take him to the park every day. Um, yeah, they were dragging me along. Those two, they're getting pretty big and pretty strong. But they're good dogs. They're really good dogs.
Yeah, 2 and 1.5. I didn't realize how way off I was. I just remember
Yeah.
the pictures of the little puppies, and now it's like you're way late, man. It's time
Yeah,
to
no,
get
they're
updated.
dogs now. Yeah.
Yeah. Coming back to this fight with Panny, what kind of fight are you expecting out there? I assume you're expecting something completely different from the first time. I mean, what can we expect out there?
Um, like obviously we've both evolved a lot. She, she, I don't know. She's coming off 2 losses. I'm coming off a loss. I think it's going to be probably a bit more of a dog fight than it was last time. Last time I fought her, she was a lot more experienced than I was at the time. Um, she also had been like it was my first foray into fighting internationally. It was my first time in front of a big crowd. There are a lot of firsts for me at that time. So I just feel like our levels were definitely different. Like I felt her experience. I felt that she had the experience advantage in our fights. Her timing was better. Her reactions were better, But I've fought a lot since then, and I've competed a lot, and I've trained a lot. Now being at CSA, like I trained with multiple world champions in the striking arts, and her background being amateur boxing. I feel like I'm coming in a lot more prepared than what I was last time. So I think it's definitely going to be, well, I'm hoping it's a little more of a dogfight, I love to get into a good scrap. I love a bit of a brawl. And then that's kind of, I feel like, where I do really well.
All right, now just one more for you, and I'm sure you see yourself winning, and I hope you see yourself winning. But how do you see your hand getting raised out there?
To be honest, I don't care. I don't care how the win comes. I'm just looking forward to finally fighting again, and I'm looking forward to having a good fight, and I'm looking forward to avenging this loss. So I don't really give a fuck how it happens. I just know it's going to happen.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great fight. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.